I still remember the moment my son gently placed his hand on my shoulder and said, "Mom, can you please stay at a hotel tonight? Her parents are coming. She wants the house to look perfect." He spoke softly, almost apologetically, but the words still hit me like a quiet storm. I smiled, even though my heart trembled. "Of course," I said. "Do not worry. I understand." I packed a small overnight bag, just a few clothes, my phone charger, and the warm shawl I wore whenever I felt nervous. As I walked out of the house, I looked back at the warm yellow lights spilling from the living room. My son stood at the door. He looked tired, conflicted, almost like a boy again. "Mom, thank you," he whispered. I nodded. "Go. They must be waiting." The hotel was only 10 minutes away, but the ride felt long. Rain tapped softly against the taxi window, like someone whispering a secret I could not hear. When I checked into my room, there was a quietness that felt heavy, not peaceful, but lonely. I sat on the edge of the bed, smoothing the blanket with my hand, and then a thought came to me. How did I become a guest in my own son's life? I tried to push the sadness away. I told myself it was only for one night, that his wife wanted everything to appear perfect for her parents. But deep inside, I felt something was shifting, like a small crack forming in the foundation of our family. After an hour passed, my phone rang. It was my son. His voice was shaking. "Mom, I need you to come home. Please, right now." My heart raced. "Are you all right?" "No," he whispered. "Nothing is all right." I grabbed my shawl and hurried out of the room. The elevator doors felt too slow. The lobby lights felt too bright. Something inside me knew this night was not going to be simple. When I reached the house, I found the front door slightly open. Voices echoed from the living room, not loud, not angry, just tense and broken. My son stood in the middle of the room, his face pale. His wife was crying quietly on the sofa, and her parents, the ones I was sent away for, were sitting stiffly, looking at the floor with shame. The moment they saw me, her mother stood up suddenly. "Please, please forgive us," she said, trembling. "We had no idea. We never wanted this." I looked around confused. My son took my hand. "Mom, they want the marriage annulled. Tonight." And just like that, the night I was removed from my home became the night everything inside that home cracked open. When I stepped into the living room, the air felt heavy, like the whole house was holding its breath. My son guided me to a chair, but he did not let go of my hand. His grip was tight, almost desperate. I could see he had been trying to stay strong, but the moment I arrived, something inside him finally broke. His wife kept wiping her tears with trembling hands. Her parents sat beside her silently, avoiding my eyes. I still did not know what had happened in the 1 hour I was gone, but I could feel the weight of it. It was strong, it was real, and it changed the room completely. For a moment, none of us spoke. The clock on the wall ticked loudly. The rain outside softened into a quiet drizzle. Finally, her father cleared his throat. "We came here tonight expecting a celebration," he said softly. "We thought the home you built together was built on respect." He paused, looking at his daughter, then at my son. "But what we witnessed, it was not respect." My son lowered his head. His shoulders shook slightly. I placed my hand on his arm. I whispered, "Tell me, what happened?" His wife looked at me with eyes full of guilt. "Auntie, I'm so sorry. I never wanted you to leave. I never said that. I didn't even know he sent you away." Her mother reached over and held her hand tightly. My mind froze for a moment. My son sent me away without telling her? I turned to him shocked. "My son, why would you do that?" He closed his eyes. A single tear slipped down his cheek. I just, I wanted everything to look perfect for them. I thought if Mom stayed at the hotel, there would be more space, more ease, no stress. I wanted to impress them. I didn't want anyone to feel uncomfortable. Her father exhaled sharply, shaking his head. "Son, a home is not perfect when you hide your own mother. It becomes empty." His words cut through the room like a slow knife. Even his daughter flinched at them. I felt my heart soften a little. My son had made a mistake, but it came from fear, not cruelty. He wanted to be liked. He wanted to be seen as a good husband, a good man. But in trying to impress someone else, he had hurt the one person who had always been in his corner. Her parents rose from the sofa. "We cannot let our daughter stay in a marriage where she must compete with fear or pride," he said gently. "It is better to end it now than let it rot slowly." My son looked up suddenly, panic flooding his face. "No, please, please do not take her away. I love her. I promise I will fix everything." The room became still again. No one knew what to say next. But deep down, I knew. This was only the beginning of a long night. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more emotional, real-life stories. For a long moment, no one spoke. The only sound was the soft hum of the ceiling fan and the quiet breathing of 4 people caught in an unexpected storm. I felt like an outsider in my own home, yet at the same time, everything seemed to revolve around me. Her mother finally broke the silence. "We did not raise our daughter to enter a home where she has to hide her feelings," she said. "When we arrived, we could sense something was wrong. The tension was everywhere." She looked at my son with disappointment, not anger. "You tried too hard to impress us, and in doing so, you pushed away your own mother." My son covered his face with his hands. "I know," he whispered. "I realized it the second you walked in. Mom, I shouldn't have asked you to leave. I should have talked to my wife. I should have trusted that we could welcome her parents together." His wife placed her hand on his arm. "Hiding things only makes them heavier," she said softly. "We are supposed to face life as a team." Her father leaned back, looking around the room. His eyes scanned the wall photos, family gatherings, birthdays, moments filled with laughter. "This home has love," he said gently. "But today we saw fear, and fear destroys even the warmest houses." I took a slow breath, letting the words settle inside me. I understood their concerns. I understood my son's confusion. But I also knew something else. Marriages are fragile, especially in the early years. Small mistakes can look like mountains when emotions are high. "I am not angry," I said quietly, "just hurt." My son's eyes lifted, red and desperate. "Mom, I will make it right. I promise." His wife's parents exchanged a look, a long, silent conversation between 2 people who had seen many years of life. Then her mother asked gently, "Tell us the truth. Why were you so worried about us visiting?" He hesitated, swallowing hard. I always felt like I was not good enough for your daughter. I worried you would judge the house, judge me, judge the way we lived, so I kept trying to create a perfect picture. And the more I tried, the more mistakes I made." Her mother's expression softened. "Oh, child, we did not come here to judge you. We came to see how our daughter was living. That is all." He nodded slowly, but I could see the guilt eating at him. Then came the quiet moment that changed everything. Her parents stood up again, Her father said, "This marriage can survive, but only if the truth stays inside it. If you hide one person to please another, the balance breaks. We want our daughter safe. That is our only concern." His wife stood too, wiping her eyes. "I do not want a divorce, but I also do not want lies." My son took her hands, trembling. "I will be honest from now on, with you, and with my mother." The room was still tense, but a small thread of hope finally appeared. Even though the room had softened, something still didn't feel settled. There was a silence, a deep, thoughtful silence, as if everyone was waiting for the truth to fully surface. I watched my son and his wife stand there, holding each other's hands, but I could sense there was more inside them. More fear, more guilt, more questions. Her parents slowly sat down again. Her mother spoke first. "Before we decide anything, we need to understand what really happened tonight." Her father nodded. "What exactly made you send your mother away?" My son hesitated for a long time. He looked at me, then at his wife, then at the floor. "I thought," he finally whispered, "that if Mom stayed home, you would think she controlled everything here, that I was not independent enough, that I still needed her for every small detail." The words stung a little, but I kept my face calm. It was the first time he had said something like that. And inside those words, I heard a fear he had been carrying quietly for years. Her wife turned to him, surprised. "You never told me that," she said. "Why didn't you share this with me?" He shrugged helplessly. "I didn't want you to think I was weak." Her father leaned forward. "Strength is not hiding the people who raised you," he said. "Strength is standing beside them without shame." My son swallowed, his voice shaking. I know that now. When Mom walked out with her small bag tonight, I felt something break inside me. I realized I had made the worst mistake. I felt tears rise in my eyes, but I kept them steady. As a mother, you learn to stay strong even when your heart is trembling. His wife stepped closer to me and held my hand gently. "Auntie," she murmured, "I am sorry. I should have asked him why you were not home. I felt something was wrong, but I stayed quiet. I should not have." I shook my head. "This is not your fault." But her parents were watching closely, as if they were seeing their daughter's marriage with new eyes. Finally, her father spoke again. "We were ready to take her home tonight," he said. "We even discussed it outside while you were calling your mother." His voice softened. "But after seeing all this, the honesty, the regret, the willingness to fix things, we are willing to give both of you another chance." My son exhaled deeply, like he had been holding his breath for an hour. His wife leaned into him, relief washing over her face. But then her mother added quietly, "Only if this never happens again. A marriage cannot survive secret fears." My son nodded firmly. "It will not happen again, I promise." For the first time that night, hope felt real. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more emotional real-life stories. Even though her parents agreed to give the marriage another chance, the air in the room was still fragile. Everyone sat down slowly, as if the cushions themselves had become heavy with the emotions of the night. I could feel my son's guilt, my daughter-in-law's sorrow, and her parents' lingering disappointment settling around us like a quiet fog. I sat on the far end of the sofa, my hands folded neatly in my lap. My son kept glancing at me, as if checking whether I was still upset. But truthfully, I was tired. Tired from the hotel room, tired from the unexpected drama, and tired from realizing how much fear my son had been carrying silently in his heart. Her father looked around the room once more. "Marriage requires maturity," he said softly, "not perfection. None of us expect a flawless home." He paused. "But what we cannot accept is a home built on fear of judgment." His daughter nodded, wiping the last of her tears. "We always said we would be honest with each other," she whispered, "but it seems we were carrying unspoken expectations." My son shifted closer to her. "I thought being a good husband meant showing your parents that I could manage everything alone. I thought keeping my mother away for the night would prove that." I felt a small ache in my chest. Not sharp, just a slow, quiet pain of a mother realizing her son was still growing, still learning, still figuring out life like everyone else. Her mother spoke next, her voice gentler now. "We never expected you to be alone. Family is not a competition. It is a circle. Everyone has a place." Her words landed deeply in the room. Even I felt myself breathe a little easier. My daughter-in-law moved closer to me and whispered, "Auntie, I want you here. Not out there in a hotel. This is your home too." The sincerity in her voice warmed me. I reached out and held her hand. "Thank you, Beta. I know this home is yours and his, but I will always try to be someone who brings comfort, not pressure." She shook her head. "You have never pressured me. Not once." There was a moment of quiet understanding among us, the kind that does not need long explanations. Her father stood and walked toward the door. He said, "We should head back. You two need time to talk, to rebuild what was cracked tonight." Before leaving, he looked directly at my son. "Be honest. That is all we ask." My son nodded. "We will." The door closed gently behind them. The house felt calmer, but much heavier with truth. My son turned to me with eyes full of regret. "Mom, I am sorry, truly." And in that moment, I realized this night was not just about a misunderstanding. It was about a young man learning what family really meant. After her parents left, the house felt strangely silent. Not the peaceful kind of silence, but the quiet that comes after a storm, when everyone is trying to understand what just happened. My son sank onto the sofa, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. His wife sat beside him, holding his arm gently. I stayed a few steps away, giving them space, but staying close enough so they knew I had not shut myself off. For a long time, none of us spoke. The soft ticking of the wall clock filled the room again, marking each second of our shared reflection. Finally, my son looked up at me. "Mom, I never wanted you to feel unwanted. I swear." His voice cracked. "I was just scared. Scared of disappointing her parents. Scared of looking small. Scared of proving their doubts right." I walked closer and sat down beside him. "You are not small," I said softly. "You never were, but hiding you does not make you look big either." He lowered his head, ashamed. "I know," he whispered. "I just realized it too late." His wife placed her hand on his back, comforting him. Then she spoke quietly, but with strength. "I married you because of your heart, not because you could impress my parents. They love me, but they cannot live my life for me." She turned to me then, her eyes warm and sincere. "Auntie, I want you to stay with us, not because of guilt, not because of obligation, but because your presence makes this home feel complete." Her words touched me deeply. For months after their marriage, I had tried to keep a respectful distance, giving them their space, avoiding interfering in their decisions. But somewhere along the way, my son misunderstood this space as something that needed to be widened even more. I reached out and held her hand gently. "You are a good daughter," I told her, "and a good wife." Tonight happened because all of us were trying to protect each other in the wrong way. She nodded, tears filling her eyes again, but this time they felt softer. Not the tears of fear, but the tears of understanding. My son stood and walked toward the window. Rain was still falling lightly. He said, "I should have talked to both of you, instead of assuming what everyone expected." I smiled sadly. Most misunderstandings start with assumptions, Beta. He turned back to us with a deep breath. "No more assumptions," he said. "From now on, everything we decide together." We all sat there for a moment, letting the weight of those words sink in. Then my daughter-in-law leaned her head on his shoulder and whispered, "We will be okay." For the first time that night, I believed her. The storm had shaken us, but it had also opened a door we had all been avoiding, a door towards honesty. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more emotional real-life stories.
The next morning arrived quietly, as if the house itself wanted to move gently after everything that had happened. Sunlight entered the living room in soft, warm streams. The rain had finally stopped. I walked into the kitchen to make tea, hoping the familiar routine would help us all find our footing again. My daughter-in-law woke up first. She walked into the kitchen slowly, as though she wasn't sure how I was feeling. "Good morning, Auntie," she said softly. I turned to her with a small smile. "Good morning, Beta. Sit. I'll pour you a cup." She hesitated before sitting down. For a moment she just watched me, her fingers wrapped around the warm mug. "Auntie, thank you for staying," she said. "I was worried you would leave again, not because anyone asked you, but because of the hurt." I paused for a moment, letting her words sink in. I did feel hurt, I admitted, but leaving does not heal anyone. Staying, talking, understanding, that is what heals. She nodded, tears filling her eyes again. She wiped them quickly, almost embarrassed. Then she took a deep breath. "We want you here, both of us, and we'll make sure you never feel unwanted again." Before I could answer, my son appeared at the doorway. His hair was messy, his eyes tired, but his expression was clearer than the night before. He walked over and stood beside me. "Mom," he said quietly, "I want you to stay too, but only if you feel comfortable, not because you feel obligated." I looked at him carefully. There was no fear in his voice now, no pressure, no need to impress anyone. Just honesty, just a son speaking to his mother. "I will stay for now," I said softly, "at least until all our hearts feel steady again." He smiled, relieved. My daughter-in-law exhaled deeply, as if she had been holding her breath all morning. After breakfast, the three of us sat in the living room to talk, really talk, for the first time in months. We discussed boundaries, expectations, comfort, space, and family roles. There were moments of awkwardness, moments of reflection, and moments where one of us had to stop and wipe away quiet tears. But inside that long conversation, something began to rebuild. My son admitted he still felt insecure sometimes. My daughter-in-law confessed she often felt afraid of disappointing everyone. And I shared my own fears of overstepping, of becoming a burden, of watching from a distance as my son built a new life. We spoke openly, gently, Not like people defending themselves, but like people learning each other again. By afternoon, the house felt lighter. Not perfect, but warmer, calmer, steadier. My son placed his arm around both of us. "We're a team now," he said, "all of us." And for the first time in a long while, I believed that maybe, just maybe, our home could feel whole again.
A week passed after that long, emotional night, and slowly our home began to feel different. Not because everything became perfect, but because we finally understood each other a little better. There was a new gentleness in how we spoke, a new openness in how we listened, a new awareness of how easily silence can become distance. One evening, I sat on the balcony with my cup of tea, watching the warm lights from the living room glow softly behind me. My son joined me, sitting quietly, as if he didn't want to disturb the moment. We watched the sunset together, something we had not done in years. After a while, he spoke. "Mom, I want to thank you," he said. "For what?" I asked, turning slightly toward him. "For not giving up on me," he whispered. "For not walking away when you had every reason to. That night taught me more about love than anything else ever has." I rested my hand on his arm. "A child can never disappoint a mother forever," I said softly. "We only wait for them to understand." He nodded, his eyes emotional but calm. Later that night, my daughter-in-law came to sit with me in the living room. She brought a small blanket and placed it over my legs, like a gesture she had been wanting to make for a long time. "Auntie, I want to tell you something," she said. I smiled gently. "Go ahead." When my parents left that night, they told me something. They said a home is safest when everyone inside it feels seen. I think I had been looking at you from a distance, not because of dislike, but because I didn't know how to come close. I squeezed her hand. These things take time. We learn each other slowly, just like families do. She leaned her head on my shoulder, and now I want us to be a real family. Her words filled the room with a warmth deeper than any apology or promise. Over the next few days, things changed in small but meaningful ways. My son asked for my advice again, something he had stopped doing after marriage because he feared it would make him look dependent. My daughter-in-law invited me to help her in the kitchen, not out of duty, but out of genuine companionship. We laughed more, spoke more, ate together without the invisible walls that once existed. Those quiet, simple moments became the real healing. And I realized something important. Family is not about living perfectly. Family is about learning, unlearning, forgiving, and growing together. That night at the hotel, I thought I had lost my place in my son's life. But in reality, it was the moment that brought all three of us closer than ever before. Sometimes life breaks us a little, only to rebuild us in a stronger, softer way. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more emotional, real-life stories.